The business and social world in Mexico has been shaken by the news of the murder of Camilo Ochoa, known as the black sheep of the family that founded the famous restaurant chain El Pollo Loco. His death, which occurred under violent circumstances, has created a strong impact both in family circles and in public opinion, given the history of excesses, conflicts, and controversies that marked much of his life. The Ochoa name is deeply tied to the growth of one of the most iconic food brands in Mexico and the United States, El Pollo Loco. Founded in the 1970s in Sinaloa, the chain revolutionized the concept of grilled chicken with a unique flavor that quickly conquered palates in Mexico and later in the United States. However, within this family of visionary entrepreneurs, Camilo Ochoa never found a stable path. While other members continued with the expansion and consolidation of the gastronomic empire, he was constantly pointed out as the most controversial figure, embroiled in disputes, personal scandals, and confrontations with the very same family. According to close associates and local reports, Camilo lived for years among the luxuries inherited by his surname, but also amid problems of addiction, failed businesses, and turbulent relationships. Although at different times he tried to get involved in the family business, his rebellious character and lifestyle distanced him from any leading role in the company. That rebelliousness turned him into the black sheep, a label that he himself acknowledged and even used with a certain irony. However, behind that reputation was a man with internal conflicts that distanced him not only from his siblings, but also from the stability he once sought. Tragedy struck when, according to the first police reports, Camilo was shot dead in an urban area of Mexico. Although investigations are still ongoing, it is presumed that his death was related to personal matters and possible outstanding debts, rather than the family business. Authorities have remained tight-lipped about the details, while the Ochoa family has asked for respect in this time of mourning. The assassination has reignited debate about violence in the country and how even people with economic power and well-known last names can fall victim to an environment marked by insecurity. The remains of Camilo Ochoa were mourned at a private ceremony attended by close relatives and a few intimate friends. Although it was not a massive funeral, it was charged with emotions, especially because of the complicated relationship Camilo maintained with his own family. Some attendees noted that, despite the differences and controversies, blood and family ties weighed more heavily in this moment of grief. The farewell was a reminder that behind the media persona, there was a human being who, like everyone, sought love, acceptance, and a place in the world. So far, the Ochoa family has issued a brief statement expressing their sorrow and requesting respect for their privacy. In the text, previous conflicts and the label of black sheep were not mentioned. Instead, the statement highlighted the loss of a brother, uncle, and son. The decision to maintain a sober and familial tone without entering into controversy reflects a desire to close this chapter without further public scandal. The case of Camilo Ochoa reveals the sharp contrast between the brilliant story of El Pollo Loco as a company and the personal tragedies that sometimes accompany those who belong to great family dynasties. While the brand continues to grow as a multinational fast food chain, the figure of Camilo represents the other side, the human fragility that neither wealth nor a famous surname can protect against. The news of the assassination of Camilo Ochoa, a member of the influential Ochoa family, founders of the international chain El Pollo Loco, has shaken both public opinion and the Mexican business world. The event impacts not only because of the violence that surrounded his death, but also because of the complex personal history that turned him into the so-called black sheep of one of the most recognized families in the restaurant sector. Camilo, unlike his siblings and cousins, never managed to establish himself within the family's business legacy, which they built with so much effort and vision. His life was marked by excesses, family conflicts, and a constant struggle against addictions and emotional problems that ultimately distanced him from the path of stability that characterized his closest relatives. carrying the Ochoa surname, meant for many being born with privileges and opportunities. The chain El Pollo Loco, born in Mexico in the 1970s, transcended borders and became one of the most successful fast food brands with a presence in the United States and other countries. However, for Camilo, that surname was as much a burden as it was an opportunity. Close sources reveal that from a young age he felt pressured by family expectations. While his siblings assumed business responsibilities, he sought alternative paths: art, music, travel. His rebellious spirit soon placed him on a route far from the orderly business structure his family represented. Camilo's story was also surrounded by dark episodes. He was linked to wild parties, dangerous friendships, and episodes of verbal and physical violence. On several occasions, his family tried to lend him a hand so that he could seek professional help. There were stays in rehabilitation clinics and periods in which he seemed to get back on track. But the ghosts of addiction and emotional instability always returned with force. That self-destructive spiral ultimately fractured his relationship with some family members. Although not everyone turned their back on him, it is clear that the distance grew as the years passed. Early reports indicate that Camilo was shot in an urban area of Mexico. In an incident police are still investigating, as a possible settling of scores linked to his circle of friends and personal debts. Although not all official details have been revealed yet, the case highlights the risks he faced due to his lifestyle and the decisions he made in his final years. The crime has sparked outrage, not only because he was a member of a prominent family, but also because it reflects the broader security crisis Mexico is currently experiencing. So far, the Ochoa family has kept a low profile. An official statement is expected in the coming days, but those close to them say there is a mix of pain, frustration, and resignation among his loved ones. For many, Camilo's death was not entirely unexpected, given his history of conflicts and excesses, but it still represents a profound wound for a family that always tried to maintain unity and the prestige of their surname. Although his life was marked by contradictions, excesses, and conflicts, the death of Camilo Ochoa invites reflection on the importance of mental health, addictions, and second chances. His story shows how difficult it can be to carry the expectations of a powerful family while fighting internal battles that are often neither understood nor addressed with the seriousness they deserve. Camilo will be remembered by some as the man who never managed to fit into his family's business path. However, his life also leaves a lesson about the dangers of family disunity, lack of dialogue, and the isolation faced by those labeled as black sheep. Instead of judging him solely for his mistakes, his story opens a broader debate. How much is really done in Mexico to support those facing mental health problems? What role do families, society, and the state play in preventing tragedies like this? Those who knew him more closely affirm that Camilo also had a noble and creative side. He was passionate about music, enjoyed writing, and was generous with his closest friends. Many remember him as someone who, despite his internal battles, had a great sense of humor and a deep need to be understood. That duality, the rebellious and self-destructive man on the one hand, and the sensitive and talented human being on the other, is what shapes Camilo's memory today. The murder of Camilo closes a difficult chapter for the Ochoa family, but it also opens a conversation about the need to understand that behind every black sheep, there is a human being with a story that deserves to be heard and understood. His death should not be seen only as a tragic end, but as a reminder that prevention, emotional support, and empathy can make a difference in the lives of those going through dark times. The passing of Camilo Ochoa leaves a void in his family and an echo of unanswered questions. Although he never managed to integrate into the Ochoa family's business legacy, his story reflects a reality many families face: the difficulty of building bridges when internal conflicts prevail. Today, as the family grieves and society observes, with shock, the rawness of his end, there remains hope that his life, with all its ups and downs, will serve to open eyes to urgent issues: mental health, addictions, and the need not to abandon those who need help most. Ultimately, beyond the label of black sheep, Camilo was a human being with dreams, struggles, and contradictions. And in that recognition lies the true lesson of his tragic story.